Hey guys, and welcome to this short section on applying positional ideas during the game. Now, you might have an arsenal of positional ideas, but how can you apply it during the game? The most important thing to find the right answers is to ask the right questions during the game, okay? We always get to some good ideas when we ask questions. And I really know that because, for example, in training, when I let my students solve a position or think about a position, they might, not find the right move. And then I'm asking, how can you avoid a trade of the rooks on the a file, for example? And then they immediately spot the right move. Okay. So it's really about asking yourself, having the skill to ask yourself the right question during the game, not understanding what is important, and then posing that question to yourself when you think during the game, and you will find the answer much easier that way. So one question I like a lot is, what is my worst placed piece? It's very simple. You can apply it in basically all the positions when we talk about positional chess, when it's not concrete, when there are no pieces hanging. You can ask yourself, what is my worst placed piece? And try to improve it, try to get it to a better square. You can also ask yourself, where would this piece love to stand or to be? And then you might find a route for that. Or if not, if you can't bring it to the dream square, you can just put it to a little bit more active square, and the next move you do the same with now another worst placed piece. Then you can ask yourself, which side is my opponent stronger on? And then attack on their weaker side. Okay, what I see sometimes is that people have, all the pieces around their king. Okay, your opponent has all their pieces around their king. But on the queen side, there's no piece at all. Now, what sometimes my students do, they try to attack the king. Well, but they have all the pieces. Like, this is like, let's say in football, guys, for all Americans, soccer, but it's officially called football, okay, just to make that clear. So in football, imagine that a team has just everybody playing on the left side, okay? The right side is completely free. You can just take the ball and run. But then you decide, no, we want to go on the left side where they are, and we try to outplay them there. That doesn't make any sense, right? So in chess, it's a little bit similar. If somebody has the whole army on one side, well, maybe try attacking on the other one, because there might be some free space, some pawns might be hanging around, and it's just much easier to get something going on a side where your opponent has less pieces. This is an additional one that I like a lot. When you think about exchanging queens, okay, ask yourself which king is weaker. This is a little bit advanced, but I really love it, and it can give you so good decisions, and decisions that might, not be normal for your level. But it's a simple question, right? It's just asking, is your king safer? Well, if your king is more safe, then you want to keep queens on the board, because queens are a big danger to kings, right? So if your opponent's king is a little bit weaker, don't exchange queens. You want to attack that king, okay? If, on the other hand, your king is a little bit weak, then you love to exchange queens, okay? You really like that, because you get more potential off the board, and your king later on might maybe be an asset if it goes to the end game and it has already a great way to the center, because it's a little bit more open. You can also ask yourself an important question when it comes to exchanging pieces, right? So I will pose this question to you. Maybe you can solve it yourself. What could be a good rule of knowing if you exchange a piece or not? You can stop the video and think about it for yourself. I will give the solution now. So you can see who has less space or who has more space. If you have less space, that means you have less space for good piece squares, okay? Your pieces might be cramped, and maybe you only have 2 good squares for pieces, but you still have a lot of other pieces on the board that are standing, uselessly around, or at least not as active as the opponent, who has much more space, and that's why they have better squares for their pieces. So we can have a simple rule again. If you have less space, you want to exchange pieces, because you get a little bit more space with fewer pieces, and you might put them on good squares, even if you have not so much space. If you have more space, you don't want to exchange pieces because you make it easier for your opponent that way, right? You want to keep your pieces on the board, all of them. And then you can have more active pieces and you can push back the pieces of the opponent maybe even more, or they stand on their feet, right? They don't really have space to move around, and you can maneuver nicely, and then you can, attack on a side that you decide on. So these are some questions you can pose yourself during the game. I'm sure you will find out many, many more questions that you can pose yourself during games when you study these positional concepts. But these were just some ideas. I hope they help you in practical. And now, talking of practical, let's just look at one example of positional chess, knight against bishop, and how you can see which piece is more effective in different positions. See you in the next video.